Welcome to Religion Unpacked. The rise and fall of the Knights Templar. They were the most powerful men in the world. They were monks, but they carried swords. They were penniless, yet they owned the greatest bank in Europe. They were the guardians of the Holy Land and the subjects of the most famous conspiracy theories in history. They are the poor fellow soldiers of Christ and of the Temple of Solomon. We know them simply as the Knights Templar. For nearly 2 centuries, they stood as the elite force of the Crusades. But in a single terrifying act of violence, they were erased from history. How did a small order of 9 men become a global superpower? And why did the King of France, obsessed with greed, burn them all at the stake? Today, we are going to walk through the fires of the Inquisition to uncover the truth. We will look at their banking empire, their secret initiation rituals, and the final, tragic end of the Grand Master, Jacques de Molay. Let's unpack the rise and fall of the Knights Templar. To understand the Templars, we have to go back to the year 1119, just after the First Crusade. Jerusalem was now in the hands of Christian kings, but the roads leading to the city were deadly. Pilgrims were being robbed, kidnapped, and murdered by local bandits. A French knight named Hugh de Payens had an idea. He and 8 other knights took vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. They dedicated their lives to protecting these pilgrims. They were granted a headquarters in a location that would define their destiny: the Temple Mount, believed to be the site of Solomon's temple. This is where they got the name, the Templars. But protecting pilgrims wasn't enough. They were broke, and they needed resources. So, they developed a brilliant revolutionary idea: the world's first ATM. A pilgrim in Paris could deposit his gold at a Templar branch, get a coded letter of credit, and withdraw his money when he arrived in Jerusalem. No longer did travelers have to carry heavy bags of gold across dangerous roads. The Templars became the trusted bankers of Europe. Kings, popes, and merchants all deposited their wealth with the order. Within 100 years, the Templars had thousands of branches across Europe. They weren't just fighting in the Crusades, they were managing the economy of the Western world. But power breeds jealousy. And in the 14th century, no one was more jealous or more broke than King Philip IV of France. Philip, known as the Fair, was a man obsessed with money. He was drowning in debt, and much of it was owed to the Templars. He couldn't tax them because they reported only to the Pope. He couldn't conquer them because they were the best warriors on earth. So he decided to destroy them. On the night of October 13th, 1307, a Friday, Philip's agents moved across France with lightning speed. He had fabricated the perfect excuse: heresy. The Templars were accused of secret, forbidden rituals. They were accused of spitting on the cross, worshiping a severed head, and engaging in unnatural acts. Every Templar in France was arrested at the same time. The arrests were followed by years of brutal torture. The Inquisition, led by the king's men, forced the knights to confess. Men who had spent their lives fighting for their faith were broken by the rack and the fire. They confessed to whatever the king wanted to hear. But the most chilling part of the Templar mystery is the secret initiation. Some knights confessed to worshiping an idol called Baphomet, a mysterious bearded head. Historians debate whether this was a real ritual, a misunderstood tradition of the East, or simply a fiction invented by the king's interrogators to make them look like devil worshippers. The head of the order was Jacques de Molay, the last Grand Master. He was an old man, tired and disillusioned. He was held in prison for 7 years, watching his brothers die in the flames. Finally, in 1314, he was brought out to be burned alive on an island in the middle of the Seine River in Paris. But just before the fire reached him, Jacques de Molay did something that terrified the king. He shouted his innocence for all to hear. According to legend, as the fire consumed him, he called out a curse. He summoned King Philip and the Pope to meet him before the judgment seat of God within a year. It sounds like a myth, but the history is eerie. Pope Clement V died of a sudden illness just 1 month later. King Philip IV died of a stroke while hunting before the year was out. The Templars were gone, but their legend was only beginning. So, what happened to their gold? The King of France expected to find a mountain of silver and gold in the Templar treasury in Paris. When he broke down the doors, he found nothing. The vaults were empty. For centuries, treasure hunters have searched for the lost Templar fleet. Some say they sailed from the port of La Rochelle, carrying the secret of the Holy Grail to Scotland. Others say they fled to Portugal, reinventing themselves as the Order of Christ, which eventually funded the voyages of Vasco da Gama. The legend of the Templars became a blank slate for human imagination. Freemasonry claimed to descend from the Templars, keeping their secret wisdom alive. Authors claimed they were the true keepers of the bloodline of Jesus. But beyond the myths, there is a very human lesson to be learned here. 2. The Templars were victims of a centralized power that feared anything it couldn't control. They were an organization that had outgrown its own purpose. They started as guardians, became bankers, and ended as scapegoats for a king who didn't want to pay his debts. Today, the Templar cross is a symbol of history, of tragedy, and of the enduring human search for mystery. Whether they were saints or sinners, heroes or heretics, we will never fully know. Thank you for watching Religion Unpacked. Subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss a new upload.